Welcome everyone on today's Metal3 Community meeting. Today is the 21st of September 2022. My name is Adam Rosman. I will be your host today, and please remember that the meeting is recorded. As usual, we would start with introductions, but as I quickly look through the participants, I don't see any new participants. So going forward, a few reminders. There is the upcoming Cap3 release. So please feel free to test it, take a look, and if possible, give some feedback. The other one is was already advertised on the Slack channel and also on the mailing list that the release of 5 of Cap3 we will retire the support for this release in the end of September, and there is like quite strong reason behind it because the Capi version that is used is no longer supported for many months now, and we have to move forward. And the other one is just in general that if you are watching this and you feel that your organization would benefit by adding itself as an adopter to our list, it would be welcomed. We would be very happy to have more and more adopters. I know it's a long process for many organizations, so it can be difficult, but if there is a possibility, then please do so. And speaking of adopters, we already received one application from IKEA IT, and it is very good news, and we were very happy. So if you have, I think it's already approved and LGTM'd, so it will be merged soon. So then the first actual agenda point, it's from me, and it's just an aggregation of things that are going on. So on the last community meeting, we have talked about BMO releases, and we came to an understanding that it will be a rolling release, and we won't keep other branches and so on, which is fine. But there is other work ongoing related to this. Furkat has a PR for this, and he's working on a bit improving the repository itself. And it was already approved by Honza, but feel free to check it with LGTM. And there is also some planned improvements for the automation, the CI-wise for the repo. And what we discussed last time on the last meeting, Kashif already started thinking about how to improve the release guide with the things that we agreed last time. And I have a question because we had a discussion inside EST about this, that we see the way that the CI can be maintained and the test can be maintained in a better way if we would sync the releases of BMO, IPM, and CAPM3, but not the release versions, and also not the rules that when is it a minor, major, or patch release. Simply that when any of these would get released for whatever reason, then the other two would be also released. And if there are no major changes in the others or no minor changes, it would just get a new patch version, and we would support that patched release going forward. So it's basically just administrative. It would help to keep the CI cleaner. And I wrote down my thoughts related to this. So what do you think? What is your opinion about this? Was I audible? Because I've seen that fork at first.
Yes, Adam. Yes, I think what you are saying really makes sense, and we should go for it.
Yeah, I spent some significant time looking for buttons in Zoom. For some reason, I was looking in my Firefox window. Sorry for that. Anyway, I also think I agree with everything that's been proposed, especially the tagging one, because I do find it confusing when the deliverables for one thing will be tagged differently. I mean, we do tag differently in Ironic, but probably in the Go world, same value is a bit less important. Yeah, it's also, I'll probably leave some comment on the PR issue template, but maybe we just merge it first and then reiterate, I don't know.
Okay, thanks. Others related to the question, or like our like idea to the for the syncing. As I understand it, it would not really affect, for example, the forks like the OpenShift that has an own release cycle and ways of doing things, and the branches wouldn't be messed with. So it's really just basically a question of versioning.
Yeah, I would expect OpenShift to still take a snapshot of master, sorry, main, and then apply backports on our branches. I don't think any versioning questions will change anything for OpenShift.
Yeah, I see it the same way.
Let me ask, what's the versioning? How do you like ways of working OpenShift related to the tagging and the releasing?
So we essentially have OpenShift wide releases. So, and for every OpenShift deliverable, when release is out, we create a release branch. So like release -4.11, for example, is the most recent one. That's where backports are going. Otherwise, we're developing in the main or master. And yeah, so that just gets snapshot at the time of feature freeze and becomes a release branch.
Okay. And then how frequent is it? Like you drop a patch and minor releases the same way as the Kubernetes does, or it's a different?
I'm not intimately familiar with Kubernetes processes to answer that. I know minor, so like 4.11, 4.10 releases happen every several months, so roughly aligned with Kubernetes releases, I think.
Okay.
Dot releases happen on regular cadence, nearly every week, I think.
Do you have, Dimitri, this any release guidelines anywhere in OpenShift which can actually help us to adapt something similar in the Metal3 BMO?
I can probably look for that, but do we want to adapt something similar? I would rather think we should adapt
No,
something that Kubernetes is doing.
I rather meant like as a guideline. It's not that I would completely adapt that, but I just wanted to have a look because I was thinking to write something that I will have in Cappy, and I was just trying to think if we can have some other process as well, because we are strictly not following something that's in Cappy because BMO is not part of the provider.
Right, so I can look for it. I'm not sure it exists. And also, I think we should start simple. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah,
because
all right, yeah. There's
like
no
for
hurry in that.
example, hold on. For example, I'm not sure we need branches. Like I think I voiced it on the previous meeting, but branches have a lot of overhead. They don't come for free if you truly maintain them. So maybe if we don't have a case for branches upstream, we don't start with having branches.
Yeah, in CapM3 or Cappy world, we are branching out when we have breaking changes in API normally. So even, for example, now we have V1 beta 1, but if there are changes in between so that they are not strictly backwards compatible, then they are actually doing minor releases as well.
So please help me understand. What I assumed about Kubernetes API, and if you make a breaking change, you simply copy your API with a new version. So it doesn't have to be a branch of the code. It just can be a new API version in your main branch. And then they just happily coexist until you decide to drop one of them. Am I wrong?
I think, yeah, that's not wrong. There are, it's still the same process, if I understood correctly, that they keep the old API and then they just introduce a new API in the same branch, but then they branch out probably because of the other dependencies that they don't want to, for example, so Kubernetes dependencies or other Go module dependencies, so those kind of things, they want to maintain a life cycle for that.
Okay, do we have a case for that, or are we just doing it because Kapi is doing it?
Kapi follows, I think, the Kubernetes release cadence as well, so that's why actually they're doing so.
Yeah, I guess my question is because it sounds like a bit of a heavy procedure. So if you don't have a strong customer case for doing that, it may be a bit too much. But then if you don't have problems maintaining that, well, sure.
Yeah, well, we already had some issues while, because we were previously doing the maintenance API wise, like the CI at least, but then we introduced changes there and started doing branch wise. But let's see how big it grows. We are also like in a dilemma how big this would be. But then the good thing about Kapi is that they don't support things for long. So that's also one way we are adapting. So that's why we, for example, release 0.5, we won't be deleting any branches or anything, but then we will stop the CI at least.
Just to clarify, now we talked about two things. So what you discussed now with Dimitri, I'm just telling it to those who are not familiar with it or who are not following or watching later the video, is the BMO releases and how the BMO will handle in the future if there are like breaking or like not even breaking, but like API changes in the API version. As at the moment, we don't have these cases. What I was talking about before, it was more of like the packaging and releasing guideline. The BMO questions are like self-contained to BMO, related to this branching or not branching out. But on last time I understood in a way that we agreed that so for now we don't foresee need for branching out. But yeah, if Kashif, you are writing like a guideline that's applicable in the future, that's actually a good thing in my opinion to think about these. What happens if the API changes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
At the very least, I'd rather be consistent. So if you think branches make sense for Metal Cubed, sorry, I'm confusing names. It probably makes sense for BMO, but then I'm not convinced it actually makes sense because this API question still confuses me. Like, we probably should maintain both APIs in parallel. Like, who is using? So who are we targeting with branches? What are sort of users they are?
What do you mean by this? Like what sort of use cases they have? Do they use multiple branch the same type? Do they like how do you mean that?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm asking, right? We create branches. We expect somebody to use them based on some logic, right? Like in OpenShift, right, people are using OpenShift minor release, so they stay on this branch for some time. Is it something we expect to happen in Kubernetes? Like people want to stick with one, say, I don't know, 22 or whatever the versions now. So we have to have something that is aligned with 1.22 dependencies. That's why we branch. If so, we need to branch BMO the same way. Or if some different motivation.
I think that's the motivation, if I understand correctly, at least from the Kapi side, that they also, as I said, a bit earlier, that they have some sort of dependency. So for each of these releases on Kubernetes and other Go modules, and they actually keep it so that they once they release, they actually create a branch, and then users are using that for a particular amount of time. Then if they want to, for example, use a newer version of Kubernetes, which is actually supported in the main branch, so they have to wait for the new release. And once that new minor release is cut, they would again branch out, and that will again have a life cycle. And that dependency would also have a life cycle.
Right. I guess for Copy it makes sense because they're sort of an installer, so they're closer tied to Kubernetes. Yeah, we need to think about it. I mean, probably need to write it down. You know, we should probably start a document and start putting our ideas per project and see what we're doing. Because if we attach our versions to Kubernetes versions, we should probably even follow the numbering. But at least we should have some consistent numbering so that we know that everything like, say, metal cubed 0.8 is Kubernetes 1.22 and something like this. And probably have it written down somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it would be really good to actually have also review from everyone. So I will put a WIP PR and write whatever I have in mind. And but please also review that and let's put it so that we know what we are going to do next while we do versioning of BMO.
Yep, good plan.
I remember we were discussing the putting a table with Kubernetes versions and then all the like components which like that supports which Kubernetes version in a one table that, for example, as Cappy has, like the APIs, let's say V1 Alpha 4 that supports these Kubernetes version on this, and then CapM3, and then if we add the BMO in the same, like in one table that we could see, okay, this release supports this Kubernetes version, something like that. We could put it maybe in the user guide even.
Yeah, that's what I mean by documenting it. Exactly this.
Yes.
Okay, I think so far we are on the same page. Is there anyone else who wants to give an opinion? Okay, if not, then that's all about the things that are happening to the BMO, and just what is the motivation behind it is the process to prepare the whole project to end up in incubation. Like that is the long-term goal here. Okay, and if we go forward, is there any other topic that you want to bring up before we start triaging?
I'm just curious to know if from Red Hat side, is anyone joining the KubeCon in person in the North America?
Oh, there are definitely some people, but I don't think from our team. Andrea,
Not
from your
from,
team?
okay.
Yeah, we're
Not
two different
related
teams.
to Metal3. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we're two teams here. Like,
yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I was just curious because we have few people joining from our team. So I was just thinking if we could have some sync in person, that would have been nice.
Yeah,
But yeah.
would be nice.
Yep.
Okay, if nothing else, I think we can start with the triaging. I try to prepare it now a bit more for this, and already checked this one related to some loss of state, probably related to the databases in the ironic deployment. It's an old PR. It's now also in the stale. I suppose we should not remove the stale because we haven't solved this, and also it seems that the communication broke down a bit. So I just asked for some clarification. I just said that yeah, we still haven't seen this happening by itself, neither downstream at customers nor in the open source community, just by itself breaking, and we cannot really reproduce it without going in and manually breaking things, but then it's broken. So that's wouldn't be a real reproduction. And I asked for like clarification that was it solved, and if so, then how was this solved? Because it's from me. Next one is the auto discovery. If I remember correctly, from same person. Also, the communication kind of broke down a bit, as far as I understand, and there were no replies to the last comment from July from Dimitri. So this person has not replied. So I guess it will go to stale soon. Next one. This was something that Furkat is engaged in actively, and I think, yeah, this one is the only one I think I haven't checked. So can you, Furkat, elaborate on that? What's the progress with it? Like, how do you see this?
Yeah, sure. I think the last comment was he was asking if there are other ways to control the using the same interface with different VLANs, and if there are some examples. So I linked out the PR where we have this VLAN configuration for real bare metal servers, and that's kind of related work that has been done in Metal3 Dev. So let's see.
Yeah, thanks for checking this. The next one was this fair to delete BMH. I had a discussion inside ESD about like what do we think related to this report. I wouldn't say it's a bug report, because we, as I listed here, at least for me, it was already like 3 different reasons why this could happen, and we discussed it, because the state that is described here briefly is a result of, we think, a failed or not complete provisioning process. So many things can go wrong also in the cleanup process, but just to fix the issue at hand, Leonard pointed me to this detached annotation that we already have in the user guide, so I just pasted it here, and I think right now we are waiting for an answer that is it sufficient for them, or are they expecting some other behavior, because I don't think we are accepting any different behavior, but we will see. And then the last one was this the IP pool deletion, and this one was something that we discussed also inside ESD related to our requirements, because this one are not requirements, expectations, because they point out a webhook, the deletion webhook for the IP pools that's in actuality is returning a nil, so it is not really doing anything, and in their view this should already return an error, but as we discussed, I think both Leonard and Furkat mentioned that later inside the IPAM there are already finalizers that are blocking this, so it's like just a question of, do we want to fail early already on the webhook level, or do we let it go deeper? And we had discussions around that. So there will be I think an answer for this, and it is still like not completely decided, as I understood from our today's discussion, that what will be the like judgment at the end. Do you have either Leonard or Furkat and like, have you looked into this or have you decided something related to this?
I briefly checked it. It looks like we have a logic back in CapM3 that takes care of it, but I have to make sure that that's the case. And also, I did check the CAPI and how they handle the webhooks in general. So they do also return nil for the update of the webhooks. So yeah, I have to double check if you want to introduce this or not. Most probably not, since it's already taken care. But I'll respond on the issue itself later.
Yeah, just to add my comment, and as I mentioned it on our discussion, for me, I guess I'm not that experienced with that, but for me, it also seemed logical that webhook already handles like an invalid request and returns you an error. I thought it's like nicer from a user's perspective, but if it's not the CAPI way of doing it, if it's not the way we want to do it, of course, then we should stay, how to say, aligned with our own design idea. Okay, so these were the things that were triaged. I think there were also recently one that was closed. Just I answered it not so long ago, but it's lost to time. It seems that the answer was okay for that. So that's all. So is there any question related to this? Okay, if not, then we can continue to the stale. Let's see what's up with that. So the last one is not the last one. The middle one is we have already discussed. This one is something that we wanted to be closed already. I thought, because it is not talking anymore on all interfaces, because yeah, exactly this one. Like I remember that Mohammed has a PR that fixed it.
Yeah, I think this was already implemented in previous PR. It was just missing in one place, so I fixed that and thought this issue should be closed now.
Yeah, I think so too, because I also did some like research on like the communication and what ports are open, what not, and how the communication is going with the Iron deployment. That it seemed that they behaved correctly, so they were not talking on all interfaces, not just Ironic, but the other components either. Yeah, so I think this can be closed, but I don't want to just close it one-sidedly. So I have asked that can this be closed? Who should I ping related to this? Are they still working on the project or not? I vaguely remember that not.
Steve is Red Hat, but he's doing other things nowadays. Any approver on the project, I think, can update the pull request.
Yeah, it's issue. I'm not sure if it's the same. Then yeah, any approver.
That's yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you can definitely still ping Steve. He's just not working on Metal3 anymore.
Okay, then I think this has been fixed. Can you please close it? Okay. Thank you. So first two is handled, and then we have one permission denied running make. Yeah, I mentioned here the passwordless sudo and the SC Linux config, and there were no reply to that. So I think we can leave it still and then close automatically. No need to go further because there are not even any communication on this. Okay. Well, what's up with the frozen? Webhook, yes, that's. I don't need to touch that. Separate components to separate images. Do we want to do anything with this? Like, is it still relevant? I guess nowadays, what can be separated? The sushi and the VBMC can be moved to different repos, but I don't think that's important, this whole issue. What do you think?
Well, I also don't think it's critical, but there was a strong push toward that from this person. I think the person is from Telecom. And yeah, they essentially, they have a stricter policies on not having too many things per image. They want it cleanly. So it may eventually be a perception problem, but probably we're still months away from that point. So I'd not close it, but I'd definitely not assign any sort of priority to it either.
Oh, I see. So it's not just like the different Docker files. It's like because now the Ironic image is this multifunctional. So many containers are created from the same image. Ironic HTTPD, Ironic DNS mask.
Right. So for example, if you don't want DNS mask because, for example, you only use virtual media, you have an option of not running it, but you don't have an option of not installing it.
Yeah, I see. I see the logic behind it, and I can imagine environments that are strict with this. From open source perspective, yeah, from that could be also like cleaner, but yeah, I agree with you that it is not high priority at the moment. And also the fact is that if there is a use case and the organization is so strict and how to say, like, not developed but so clean with all these, and then I think they usually have the resources to like separate these themselves. I don't think that would be a blocker for anyone, in my opinion. Yeah, I was looking for the word advanced. And anyone else on this? Or we can continue. And then I leave it, in frozen. Okay. And then this one, this I don't remember. Scheduled for review or after. Is Leonard here? I get what this is. But this is a dev issue, isn't it? Yeah, that's a dev issue. I will ping Leonard about this because I think we kind of, yeah, we forgot about this. See, this is the issue, and this was what? These are both issues. Okay. I think we have forgot about this one. Let's talk. Okay. And that was the frozen. Let's see the help wanted. Document, I won't even go to documentations. I think all of them is under work, like all of them is under construction. And even ones that are, like for example, I was unable to assign myself for one of these, but I also started working on these. Now I won't say that please contribute to any of these, because I think there are already people working on all of these. So I don't want people do unnecessary work. But to the others in DevEnv, for example, and CapM3 BMO, please feel free to contribute to any of these. I don't think there was any new among these. Yeah, and I don't want to make through. Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself. These were many times advertised, and I think there are. The contribution is going on nicely because there are less and less of these. So thank you everyone who contributed to these help wanted tickets. Okay, that was all for this. Is there anything else you want to suggest? Any problem with the meeting? Any questions? Okay, if not, then thank you for your time, and we will see and hear each other next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you,
Bye.
bye.
Thank you.
Fine.
Bye.